Hi, everyone. My name is David McLeod, and I am your life mastery coach and author of the delightful little book, A Life to Die For. I'm also one of the co-authors in the best-selling series, The Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care, and lead author of the upcoming new book, Gifts of Wisdom, Practices for Healing and Empowerment. Welcome to Life Mastery TV, your source for inspiration, empowerment, and fulfillment. This is episode 254. Today, our title is Flourishing Through Self-Love. Although self-love is often romanticized as something we should naturally have, the truth is that for most of us, self-love feels uncomfortable and inauthentic. This energy runs counter to society's teaching that love, like trust, must be earned through conditions, transactions, and meeting expectations set by someone or something outside of ourselves. Learning to love yourself by prioritizing and tending to your beautiful essence is a journey, one of the most important undertakings you will ever embark on. We all deserve to thrive and connect deeply with this life-giving energy every day, indeed, every moment. We were born loved, but through the twists and turns of living and trying to keep up, we unknowingly stepped out of alignment. So much goodness abounds when self-love is invited in, prioritized, and nurtured. This is the pathway to boundless gifts of harmony, gratitude, and strength. For this episode of Life Mastery TV, I've invited back my good friend Nancy Stevens, a lifestyle specialist, life coach, and self-care mentor, to help shed some light on this really important topic. So please welcome Nancy back to the program. There you are. Hi, Nancy. Thank you for persisting with the technical challenges and helping me to understand that it was actually on my end and not on yours. That was a great gift. Anyway, we're here.
I'm empowered. I'm filled with love right now that it wasn't me.
Well, that's great. That's great. And so, yeah, well, thank you for coming back. And I know this was kind of a short notice request because I didn't have somebody to take the spot. And I appreciate your stepping in and being willing to write up, a beautiful set of information for me to put on the website. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
So how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Like you, well, I'm busy as well, working on my content for the upcoming book number 5 of the Wellness Universe Complete Guide to Self-Care. And my what I'm sharing today kind of was a nudge from the universe, a little indirect means for me to share this topic today as I move forward into the next chapter or this new area of growth. So I'm doing
So am I to understand that you're giving us a little bit of a sneak peek of your contribution to the Volume 5 of the Wellness Universe book?
Maybe.
Okay. Well then, everyone, pay attention. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. How is self-love showing up in your life? And what is it that led you to put this forward as a topic for discussion?
Well, interestingly enough, last year, I got on a call that Anna hosted for the Wellness Universe to share about the possibility of being a Wellness Universe, doing coaching for the Wellness Universe. So that was something in my life that I had done coaching previously, but kind of shut it down initially and moved forward into something else. So why I got on that call, when I told myself I was done, I just did. That began the process of me becoming really curious and interested in this new certification, and also kind of needing to come home to what was going on within me initially that made me close the door temporarily on something I really enjoy doing, coaching. So there's always a deeper reason or cause than just the surface, the circumstances. So that process led me to question, to gently question myself. Where did that energy come from? That led me to say, I'm stepping away from coaching and doing other things. What about what was going on in me? Well, one of the things I began to process slowly over time was self-love. Was I truly appreciating and loving my uniqueness and what came out of me, a desire and talent to coach others? So initially, the desire and love to coach others was supposedly put out there, but because I hadn't yet worked on the other attribute, close the door, flourishing wasn't going to be. So what I'm doing now wouldn't be here unless I had gone and started to ask these deep questions through self-awareness. Why did I close the door? Oh, and it's never, as you know, everything is when the student is ready, the earth still presents the lesson. Apparently I wasn't wanting to see or able to handle the lesson, even though I had been given lots of opportunities. So now that I was ready, that's when I began to go deep within myself and like, oh, a lot of this stems from not trusting or fully loving me, not the external, but me. So.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting story for sure. And, the whole idea of self-love, as I mentioned in the introduction, it's challenging for a lot of people. I think that what happens is people equate self-love with narcissism and selfishness and a variety of other negative terms that obviously inhibits the idea of self-love. And I mean, I have a hunch. I know why that is, and I'd like to hear your perspective. Why do you think that happens?
Well, in my case, I can't speak for everyone else. I was raised by generational energy in which love came from transactions. It came from situations, conditions. It was a means of receiving something once you had given something. It wasn't understood or accepted to spend a moment supporting and loving yourself. It was viewed as, you're right. Who are you to say I love myself? That's just so arrogant, or so it makes people uncomfortable when you're expressing that. So we were unknowingly closed the door, suppressed that, but we're still wanting to be loved and to love others. But what I discovered by disconnecting from the deep love placed in me at birth, how could I deeply have empathy and compassion for mankind's struggles, challenges, suffering when I had an empty cup, when I was pouring from an empty cup? But yeah, mine was generational. I mean, I was given love by having food to eat, shelter, parents who loved, but it was through conditions and transactions and deeds. It wasn't, it just wasn't fostered because they didn't have that in their life.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure that happens in a lot of families, even today, even with so-called elevated consciousness, people are still engaging in conditional love. And I think it's primarily because we still are dealing with ego minds.
Yes.
None of us is 100% spiritual, at least not as long as we're on the physical plane. As much as we might do our inner work and try and quiet that ego mind and bring our spiritual essence more to the fore, unless we're doing that work on a regular basis, then we're still going to be affected by our ego minds. And sometimes those conditions are going to raise their heads. I will love you if, Or we might turn it around and would say something like, if you loved me, then you would blah, 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 blah kind of thing. This is how we phrase our conditional love, you know? It's really kind of sad.
Mhm.
And I don't know about you, but I know it's something I have to work at every single day. You don't just one day reach a point and say, okay, that's it, I'm done. It just doesn't happen that way, you know? I wish it
No,
did.
I know. No. Yeah, it just makes me, I'm not laughing, but I mean, gosh, you hear married couples or partners, if you love me, you'll make me a cup of tea. If you love me, you'll go out in the rain and go to the store. Um, you know, you show your love by standing up and giving your chair or not taking, like you're right. You show it's transactional still.
Right.
It's deep conditioning, and that what goes with that deep conditioning is the complete the acceptance that it's okay to love yourself. You're not perfect. Get over it. Like
Yeah.
hug yourself. Just love yourself. I in the course of working with counselors and coaches, I was working with double energy. It was told, please love yourself, hug and love yourself. Well, that felt so inauthentic that I was like, why would I do that? I need to show how much I am worth, and then I'll be loved. I'll make myself
Right. So you were
so,
basically creating conditions for loving yourself.
yeah.
Whereas
Oh,
in the previous examples that we gave, it was about loving someone else. I will love you if, and
mhm.
so on. Now we're turning it inwards. We're saying, I
Yeah.
will love me if.
Hmm. Isn't that
So it's
fascinating?
becoming
So I guess,
transactional there too.
yeah. So the transaction energy is pretty deeply ingrained. Maybe it's the ego mind is like, ha ha ha. I
That's
need,
right.
you know, I need to keep fueling myself. So yeah, unbeknownst to me, I mean, you're right. It's a daily practice. So it's part of my ritual, but yeah, you just reminded me. So I teach a lot of group fitness classes. Well, of course, I want to have a full class and be appreciated. So at times, unbeknownst to me, if I'm not having the best of days, I'm going to go in that class with this little subconscious message saying, oh, earn their love today. Go out of your way, be the most considerate, professional, earn their love. And oh, wow, they all, oh, now I'm fine. I proved I can be loved. I've proven it to myself by doing the best I can. And they told me they really love my class. Good job, Nancy. Gold star. But
Right. Right. And how often, I'm going to ask you this, how often do you have the story in your mind? Someone says, Nancy, that was a great class today. And in your mind, you're saying, yeah, she's just saying that. She doesn't really mean it. How often
yeah,
does that happen?
um,
That happens to me a lot.
yes. Yep, because we don't want the chair to be pulled out from under us. That if we accept that compliment in some weird way, it's as if we are showing our vulnerability, and that person can pull the rug out from under us and we'll fall like Humpty Dumpty.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. Nope. Yeah, thanks for that compliment. But yeah, I'm good.
Here's a
I'm
good
fine.
practice that I learned at a workshop that I did, because I do have that chatter going on in my mind sometimes. And so when someone says something nice to me, if I notice that, I will just say to the person, can I ask you to just pause for a moment and hold that energy? Because my mind is not allowing me to accept this compliment. And
Mm.
I just want to embrace it and accept it in. if I just do that, I mean, so often people will say, you know, I do that sort of thing too. And then I'll pause and I'll say, thank you. Thank you for that beautiful compliment. That doesn't happen. Like usually when someone pays me a compliment, I can just pause and I can say, thank you for that. Those are beautiful words. They touch my heart, or whatever it is I want to say. And yeah, then maybe later I might have to do my own private work about it. But sometimes if I can be aware of it right then and there, I might say, you know, one of my challenges in life is just to accept compliments. So can you just stand here for a moment and let me take it in? That's a powerful process. First of all, now I am showing vulnerability. Now I'm saying this is who I really am. And I want to enjoy this moment of appreciation, because I don't give it to myself nearly enough.
That's beautiful. I mean, I would appreciate if I paid somebody a compliment, I would be an unforgettable moment if that person who I paid the compliment did what you did. Wait, can you repeat that? I want to really appreciate and receive that. That is very deep, because most of us, again, it's our own ego mind. Some of us, for me, generational raising up, or the messages that are portrayed, it's very difficult. Yeah, it's challenging and difficult to accept compliments and sincerely receive them. Like the person that gave the compliment, they showed vulnerability, unless they're doing it when others are around. They want to check a box to be seen as,
Right.
Nice. Right? Ooh. But really, the person that stopped to give a compliment, they're being vulnerable as well, that they noticed and paid you. And who are we to push it aside? Oh, it's nothing. Yeah, okay, enough of that. I mean, that goes on every day. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
we think that we're doing ourselves a favor somehow, either protecting ourselves, or I don't know what it is, that when we receive a compliment, everyone's different. We have this subconscious programming that says that's not safe. That will make you you'll rear your ugly head. Like, there's all kinds of programming that comes with receiving love, and it's really fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. I think for all of us, and I am speaking for the entire world here, the biggest challenge is to get out of our own way, and to allow that conditioning to fall away so that we can just be who we are. When we can do that, then we reach a point where we are not affected by what other people say. In other words, we don't modify our behavior just because someone doesn't like the way we're showing up right now. Right? Now, we might decide, you don't like how I'm showing up. Now I hear the same thing from another person. Maybe there's something here for me to look at. But a random comment that says, I don't like the way you're showing up, doesn't mean I have to instantly change to satisfy that person. And when I can reach that stage in my life where the inner dialogue has died down enough, or I've tamed it enough that I can actually love myself, then I can stand there and say, I appreciate your feedback. And my truth is, your feedback is not going to change how I feel about myself. So I'm not necessarily going to say that, but I am going to embody that. And particularly when I hear something negative from somebody, So I think that is an act of self-love right there. Being willing to set your own boundary and say, I don't really care. I mean, I do care what people say or think about me, but I'm not going to change myself just so that they'll say and think things that are positive and uplifting about me. I don't want to be responsible for someone else's happiness. It's not my job anyway.
No.
So
that's another, if you put the love is the hubcap and you have the spokes, all the spokes that come out, think of all the things that we love is just a beautiful energy that we were born with, whole and complete. And as we've evolved and grown, we've placed all these little things, don't accept compliments, or be wary, transactional, conditional, situational, based on if I've done good deeds or if I haven't. Like, we've had so many weird holds on what love is, but yet we all need it. We recognize when we receive love, and we're dancing around this. Like, what are we afraid of? Really? Because maybe the opposite, if love is light and life affirming, and fear is the, where's that dance between moving from fear, which maybe not loving ourselves is, there's just all kinds of stuff. Like with me. So bringing it back to my journey, what I discovered, and we know a good friend of ours, Eileen Dillon, the emotional pro. She was on my show, Vibrant Wellbeing, and she shared sometimes when we have repeating life events that maybe it happened, something happened a month ago, then a year later that same event happens, and then it keeps happening, and it's like, well, it's not the event or the people or what's going on inside you that's really pushing all of that away. So it's the deep, love is an inside job. It's a beautiful energy. It's a deep inner job, not external. But you're right. It's what I'm learning is it's not a one and done. I'm not going to go from over here to here. It's a daily process. And it has twists and turns every day.
Right. Yeah. I agree. It's an ongoing process. I don't even think of it as daily, because there are sometimes multiple times in a day when I have to kind of come back and do this work and just remind myself that I am worthy, that I am loved, that I am love, it's sometimes when life events happen, I lose sight of that truth. It's kind of like a cloud has come over and blocked that light, and preventing me from seeing it. But I didn't notice the cloud because I just noticed the feelings kind of cramping in on me, and it takes a while sometimes it takes a while to really recognize, oh my God, I'm stuck in this loop again, and so I have to do the work in order to get myself out of that loop. And doing the work, it's called work for a reason, because it's not necessarily an easy process, So I think it's really, really super important for us to learn to love ourselves and to do it without any conditions, without any transactions, and just do it,
See yourself, like, what I've learned from you, David, Eileen, so many in my life, is to just see ourselves as we are, an amazing, unique, one-of-a-kind, sacred gift. We are. There's nobody like you. You're the only you. I'm the only one of me. Yeah, we may say or do things that are similar. We have some wants and needs, but your stamp from your hand, hairs in your head are yours. And we have been, so basically we're needing to push aside gently the all about well-worn, generational, ancestral, current day energy that we've surrounded this beautiful love with, and just gently unpack it every day, or do that work, like not making it be such a big hot mess that only a few, like Mother Teresa, the Buddha, geez, it's so, oh, that's another thing. Okay, so when I was raised, we're like, we're not going to teach you how to love yourself. We're going to tell you what you need to do to feel, to receive love. But then, I was raised Christian, so you attend church. It's unknown, and they're like, put your hands together and just love. Well, I'm like, as a kid, I'm like, who am I loving? What? But it was, think about all this unique conditioning and programming that has moved in. That is, if we are self-aware and recognize that maybe something is out of place, and that I guess, first give yourself permission to explore the deep, beautiful underlay that is you, and start to, what I had to do was look, I think I learned it from you and others, to openly, compassionately, and curiously look inside. Don't do it with fear or the ego or you're being an annoyance. Just start to go downstairs, explore, pull things out in order to clear some of the stuff that never belonged there, dispel some of the stuff that maybe at one time did, and just start to hug that beautiful you.
Right.
Just start to find it. Yeah.
You mentioned being Christian, and I find it fascinating that this may be true across many religions, but certainly in the Christian religion, even Jesus was telling us to love ourselves. And he said so in his phrase, love your neighbor as yourself. He also said to love your enemy. And I think that those are two really, really powerful phrases that we need to embrace. If you're loving your neighbor as yourself, that means you must be loving yourself first.
Yeah.
Secondly, if you're loving your enemy, what is your greatest enemy? Well, I think the greatest enemy that I have is my ego mind. And so even though there are some teachings that say to, kill the ego mind, get rid of the ego. No, that's the complete wrong way of dealing with it. The only way to get your ego under control is to bring love, healing energy to the ego mind. That's what I believe. So love your ego, love your enemy. It's hard. Hell, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. We wouldn't be having wars all over the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to say is a lot of people think that the opposite of love is, well, hate, which of course is not really true, because hate's just a very highly passionate energy, but it's associated ultimately with fear, right? And fear is where we tend to close down and get smaller and contract and all the rest. Whereas with love, we tend to open up and expand, right? So is fear the opposite of love? I don't know. Fear, I believe, ultimately boils down to this idea, this story we have in our minds that somehow I'm going to be disconnected from love. I'm going to lose love. That's what fear is really all about. But love is always there. Love is always there. Love never goes away. In fact, it's when I say it's always there, I'm kind of pointing outwards, but actually it's in here, right? And so when I do my meditation, I bring myself within. I connect to love almost immediately nowadays. It's not as hard as it used to be.
Yeah.
Right. And I still have an ego mind. My ego mind is still quite active, but I have learned how to bring it more under control so it doesn't have as much impact in my life as it used to. So that to me is what self-love is all about. It's bringing your attention inward to the true essence of who you really are, allowing the existence of your ego mind and loving it for all the things that it does for you, and then taming it so that you have it under control and it's not controlling you. That to me is the ultimate expression of self-love.
That's beautiful. And there's no external conditions to be met, transactions to hand in. There's not, quote, homework to turn in to you're not going to get graded. You're not going to fail. You're not going to go to the back of the line or get the gold star. It's you, I guess, really starting to honor with awe that we are sacred, that my time here on earth is sacred. My body is sacred. All of the emotional, mental, energy, spiritual is sacred. If I choose to, when I made the choice to understand and see that as sacred, that brings you into a different level of understanding and knowing that I'm pretty damned amazing. Even if I go out in the world and, somebody
Well, and
apparently.
you are pretty damned amazing.
Well, thank you for that compliment. I accept that.
Yeah, that's right. Good.
Yeah.
And I noticed Anna said she loves that, and I do too. The idea of thinking of yourself as sacred, thinking of all of love, all of life, and all of love as sacred. I think that's a critical perspective.
Yeah.
If you can recognize that your life and the life of everyone around you is a sacred and beautiful experience, regardless of how it might show up, right? I mean, there are people who have all kinds of unusual experiences in this life, and some of them are pretty well, let's just say, for want of another term, I'm just going to say some of them are very unpleasant, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is to say, I wouldn't necessarily want to go through it. But that doesn't mean that it was an unnecessary experience, and that doesn't mean that it wasn't sacred just because I don't happen to like it. I don't have a preference for it. So
Yeah.
I might not necessarily choose to follow that particular path and have that particular experience. And I might instead choose to benefit from the other person's experience. You see, benefit from whatever that person got out of it. And that's what I think we do here. In the wellness universe and also individually, we try to bring forth the beauty of the world and let people see that and hopefully experience it for themselves through our books, through our podcasts, through our programs, through all the things that we do. That's really what I think we're trying to do.
Well said. Yeah. So my recent journey, again, because when the student is ready, the teacher is always there, was to move into to embrace my supposed, I don't know, what do you call that? Supposed resistance, and ask it, what is it? What about this feels uncomfortable? What's this resistance? Coming back to why did I close the doors of my coaching practice? Just being seated calmly and vulnerably. So in that energy to receive the learning. And from there, again, it takes time. It's multi-layered, developed for me, my own. I'm a big person with affirmations. That's a big deal to me. So I had to spend time again crafting a whole new set of affirmations that I use, especially in the morning, because that's very spiritual to me. But as needed, I use them throughout the day to, I guess, to release. I don't like to say reprogram, because to me, the word reprogram is really strong. It means like you were born with this, and now we're going to da-da-da. It's like I'm bringing myself back into what was always in me by releasing the old, well-worn stuff and bringing this new energy that affirms, yes, we are love. As we love ourselves with comfort and with lose all the BS, then we're going to mirror and bring all that love back to us. We're going to loving, happy people will come to us. People that are feeling out of sorts are going to take comfort in us and work on, oh, well, I want to have more of that. I mean, maybe that was my journey. So yeah, it's an inside job of how the more comfortable we are to go deep within us, take a good look around, open it up for ourselves to see and hug that, then that is the foundation of more open love that we are teaching and giving to the world.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Something happened on my end while I was listening to you. I seemed to drop off completely, and I came back on and I couldn't hear anything for the longest time. So I missed out on some of what you were saying. So I apologize. I've lost the thread a little bit of our conversation, but now at least it seems I'm back. And
Wow.
yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, I want to talk a little bit about how self-love relates to self-acceptance and resilience,
Mhm.
and how we can bring those more into our lives.
Yes. Well, a big factor in even being able to start doing the work. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just checking. A big factor. I think that's one of the major foundations is that self-awareness and just lovingly embracing all the parts of myself, the supposed flaws, the traits, the just who I am, and just coming into accepting. That was another big deal. Like just accepting all the parts of me, the messy parts, the flawed parts, the quirks, the idiosyncrasies, embracing my uniqueness. Then when I come to embrace that, I'm like, okay, Nancy is Nancy. She's not trying to be like this person or that person or whatever. I'm cool with myself. Then I have what's it called? Giving myself permission to start doing the deep inner work. Because I guess without accepting myself, I'm still going to be at this very high external level. I'm going to be unable to go downstairs because I don't have there's nothing for me to go downstairs with. Acceptance is huge.
Well, you
I
could
think,
start with a flashlight.
yeah, yeah. I know it. Yeah, there was a time I was so uncomfortable. If somebody said something like, "Oh, are you sure you know what you're doing?" I couldn't. That would have sent me into overdrive because, oh my gosh, I wasn't getting loved by them. Then I didn't love myself because they noticed a flaw. Well, oh, that just, it was just a big mess. Um, but yeah, so if somebody says, "Do you have what you need? You're looking like da da da," I'm like, I could, yeah, I need some support right now. When I do, I need
Right.
some Learn Out Live support. Then we both do, and then we can
Right.
begin to garden, go down and with that flashlight, start to cultivate and fertilize the garden of our soul.
Right.
Loosen up that compact, heavy dirt. Let it water the little seed, start to see that seed germinate. And then a whole another energy flows. But I guess people garden year round. Yeah. So self-acceptance is a deep part of love, of finding and loving ourselves, of going back to what was always ours. What do you think?
Well, I agree. I acceptance is one of my primary pillars in my whole life mastery paradigm, and
Yeah.
I view acceptance as being able to see things and accept them as they are. And what that means, and I always use the analogy of watching the clouds roll by. If you're just sitting there watching the clouds, it doesn't take long before you start to say, oh, look at that, there's a rabbit. Oh, look, a flower. Oh, I recognize my father up there. You know, what's happening is you're not looking at clouds anymore. You're not accepting them as they are. You're making up stories about them. And that we do that about everything in our lives. You know, something will happen, you'll have an observation, and you'll immediately have a story associated with it. You'll make an interpretation, you'll make a judgment, you'll make a conclusion. You'll say, this is just like what happened last week, therefore this is also going to happen. These are the sorts of things that we do, and that is ego mind right there. That's exactly what it is. So the power of acceptance is about saying, okay, can I simply observe something without the agenda, without the story? And if I can do that, then I can begin to accept things as they are. And the moment I can accept, this is another beautiful quote that I heard from a guy named Frederick Perls. Nothing changes until it becomes what it is. And, you know, it took me a while to grok that completely, but ultimately now what I understand is when it becomes what it is when I stop making up my stories about what I think it is. Then I can now allow it to have whatever effect it's going to have in my life, and I can change it if I'm inclined to do so. And the same is true, by the way, all of the things I've said about acceptance in general apply to self-acceptance, except now it's now focused upon this essence, this beingness, this uniqueness, whatever you want to call it. Now it's about, can I look within myself? I like what you say, by the way, going downstairs. I like that. That's a kind of a cool image. But you don't have to necessarily even go downstairs. Just go within and become aware of what's going on. What's really going on? I mean, where you feel some pains, you feel some aches. All right, pause. Listen in to whatever that pain and ache is and ask, what's it trying to tell me? And can I just hear it without making a judgment about it? When you can do that, when you can accept what is inside of you, then you're well on the way to full self-acceptance. And now, once you get to that place of self-acceptance, and including, as you say, all the dark and messy and dusty and dirty parts, the parts that we've judged as being bad or not good enough or whatever, once you can get down to that, you'll discover that all of it is a sacred and beautiful gift. And you have been blessed with an opportunity to share that sacred and beautiful gift with the entire world.
Yeah. And the more authentic, the more comfortably connected, accepting we are, then that is us being authentic. And people embrace and love authenticity because it's trust, it's material, it's energy that is trusting, it's assuring, it's comfortable. You know?
Right.
If I think about all the times in my life, I'm not like drawn to some person that, quote, is a polished, well-spoken, quote, polished professional expert. At times you're just drawn to, okay, for instance, like Simone Biles, right? She totally, in the second Olympics, just had a come apart. It was right there in front of worldwide TV. And my understanding of Simone Biles' mental health journey was her work on a worldwide stage of coming to love herself.
That's right.
That she had what she had gone to the point where she had done enough work that she desired to and came back to her third Olympics. It wasn't about some physical, deeply physical. I believe that her work, and thank you, Simone Biles, was to, on a worldwide stage, working with her therapist, to start to put aside all of the the inner critic dialogue, the demons. And she just happened to do it in front of millions of people. But what brought her back was a deeper appreciation for her life and loving herself.
Right. And isn't that the actual epitome of resilience?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You get to bounce back. When you accept yourself, when you love yourself, then resilience happens much more easily. There's far less resistance. There's far less fighting, to try and break through the barriers or whatever, because you have already accepted everything. You have accepted yourself. You love yourself enough. You can say, all right, I'm good. It doesn't matter to me what you think. Here's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You light the way for yourself to see which gifts give to others. And something else that was shared with me, I read and heard, is if you, like, for instance, like for me, I'll go back to my life coaching practice, so I saw some success, ultimately closing down, getting ready to open it again. But somebody said, okay, shine a light back on you with curiosity and compassion. And just ask yourself this question, which can be really tough because it's intangible. What am I believing? Or what do I have to believe that this is occurring? Whether it's what you term a failed relationship, a business fizzle, a fallout, quote, missed opportunity. Like, what are you believing? What do you believe that's supposedly bringing these things presented in tangible form? No, that's a deeper piece of work that when you're ready, you're ready. When you're not, you're not. And
Right.
as I did my work recently, it ultimately was loving myself enough. And the other point was, I was messaged, we don't trust you right now. And so I was like, oh, I don't trust myself. Okay, cool. Who I need to be is transactional. Well, ultimately, all of that was learning to love myself fully, self-acceptance, self-love. But that's another tool that you can use if you notice a recurring scenario in your life. It doesn't have to be anything major, but just something that you notice that's yours to learn from when you're ready. And what do I have to believe, or what am I believing that's bringing this, that continues to bring this similar set of circumstances, event, feelings into me? And when you're ready, what will come out, it will always be, will flourish itself. At least with me.
I got a couple of things to say about that. The first thing is, I found for myself, I am never ready. It doesn't matter how close I get to doing something. I always have my ego mind telling me, no, you haven't done this, you haven't done that, you're going to screw this up, blah, blah, blah. No, you're never ready, so don't even try to be ready. Just when it's time, do it. This is a very, very important point for everyone, I think, to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about this idea of beliefs. And this is a great practice for anyone to start doing. Just any situation that's coming up, just ask yourself, what do I believe about this? What is the story I have in my head about this? What is going on for me? What do I believe is true? And how does that belief serve me? How does that belief serve me? What is it that has led me to this belief? You can ask all kinds of questions about it. I encourage you to do that. Do some journaling about your beliefs. And then you might decide, okay, this belief really doesn't serve me. I think I'm going to change it for a more empowering, self-loving belief. But you can't really do that until you become aware, right? And then you have to not only become aware, but accept the fact that you have this belief and say, this is what it is. Now I am empowered to change it. That's a really, really important practice. And don't wait until you're ready. Do it now. Start doing that right now. And then I would also invite you to think about, how can I, obviously this belief has been with me for a while, so it has served me in some way. Can you bring yourself to be grateful for whatever that belief has brought you now? Even as you release it for a new one, a new belief.
Mm-hmm.
It's a powerful process. And I highly recommend everybody start doing it today. Don't even waste any more time. As soon as you get off this show, go do it.
What do I believe, and how has this belief served me? Yeah.
And when you ask that question, you might be saying to yourself, well, it doesn't serve me. Sorry, wrong. It does serve you because you've got the belief. On some level, it is serving you. It's serving your ego mind. It's serving you to create this illusion that people love you more when you show up a certain way. I'm just creating words right now. I know that when I do this work, those are the kinds of answers that come up for me. Now, your answers are going to be different, obviously, because your situation is different. But that's what comes up for me. So don't be afraid to ask the question, how does it serve me to continue believing this? Where's this coming from? And don't judge yourself, just, okay, that's how it's been serving me, So I'd like to just kind of do a segue here, Nancy, and we've got about 10 minutes left, and I want to make sure that we talk about creating a practice for self-love. And I'm wondering if you'd like to start us off, maybe give us 3 or 4 steps that you use to help build a practice of self-love.
Well, let's see. For me, what started my journey was, again, the first thing was bringing in that self-awareness. From there, fostering the energy of learning to love and learning to self-acceptance, that who I was is who I am, just accepting all parts of myself, not the certain public parts, but the private parts, the public parts. So it was a step process of being okay with all of Nancy. Self-acceptance then led me into crafting a very intentional, sacred routine that I could put wheels on this self-acceptance. And for me, part of my self-acceptance practice is in creating and crafting very personal meditation and affirmation, and reading this, thinking this, and repeating this to bring this fully into my conscious and bring it into my subconscious. And understanding that also I'm going to have days where everything's going to go really well, and at times days it's not going to go well. But taking that, whether the day is good, labeled good or not good, taking that off the table and staying rooted in my whole body. So that's my beginning of cultivating a practice of self-love, which is finding very personal, meaningful words and affirmations, and also designating a place that's very comfortable and safe for me to do the work in initially. So just bringing that awareness, what gives me comfort, assurance, safety, protection, that factors into my self-love practice and ritual.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I think you have to make it a regular practice for sure. And, you mentioned a couple of things that I think are very, very powerful, and I really like that. I would also suggest, even if it may feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, try standing in front of a full-length mirror, completely naked, and look at yourself and just Try saying, I love you. Just try it. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel uncomfortable. You're probably going to, your ego mind is going to notice all the flaws on your body. Just say, thank you for that. Let's go. I love you. And just keep doing it. I tell you, the first time you do it, it'll probably feel really weird unless you've had a practice of it. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. And the more you begin to believe yourself that you love you, that you love you. It's something that I started doing, and it's not something I brag about, but I go in and that's what I do. I stand in front of my full-length mirror. Regardless of all the little flab and other flaws that show up, I just say, I love you. And I will say other things like, you're an amazing, dynamic, beautiful human being, sharing your wisdom in the best way you know how. And I'll say other things like that, as if I were talking to my little boy. And it's amazing how powerful that is. You'd think, yeah, but I'm just talking to a reflection. It's just this fake thing. Well, maybe so, but the reflection is also talking. Keep that in mind. So I know it's hard to maintain eye contact because you can only look at one of your reflected eyes at a time. It's kind of weird. But give it a try. Make it a practice. And then I would say, even before you finish doing that, just say one thing that you are grateful for about yourself. One quality that you really, really love. And when you do this practice repeatedly, you may use the same quality for a few times before another idea will come to mind. That's the beauty of gratitude. You think, oh, I'm grateful for this. And then the next moment you're thinking, oh, I'm also grateful for this. So let it just flow. And I'm telling you, you're gonna come out of that place, put your bathrobe back on or whatever else you put on, and then you're going to say, I actually feel good about myself right now.
Yeah.
Notice that feeling. Carry it through your day.
That's a beautiful practice. I've actually started that a few months ago, and initially it felt it was again counter to my generational inner dialogue. But what initially felt insincere and authentic, awkward, is like you, it's a part of my practice, because if not me sharing to myself that I love myself and growing and building this energy, then who, right?
Exactly.
So yes, that
and
is.
And if not now, when?
Yeah. And yeah, it's very important work. And it's very meaningful work, because it heals us and gives that healing energy to those in our lives and what is yet to come. So it's initially ours to love ourselves, but so much more flows from us when we embrace and do this and love ourselves. But yeah, that's another thing that I've brought into my life. Initially, it was like, oh, this feels weird, whatever. But if you stand with your feet grounded in your sacred energy, you are loving what was lovingly given to you, which was your very life.
I remember when we first started this conversation, you mentioned about coming from a place of an empty cup, or trying to share from an empty cup, I think you said. And one of the things that happens here, this process that we've been talking about, this idea of cultivating your own practice of self-love, what you're effectively doing is you're filling up that cup from the inside. And so now you can go out to the world and share from a full cup instead of an empty cup. It's a beautiful practice. I really recommend you try it.
Yeah, boy, you've given lots of insightful, meaningful conversation and energy here. And I just feel, I guess, because of where I am in my life, if not me, if not you, tending to this, healing it, opening it up, then who? And we all deserve, we were born with this deep sacred well of life force energy and love within us that somehow was distributed, dispelled, whatever. It's our work if we can move into that self-acceptance to do the work with love.
Right.
To get love. Yeah. So
beautiful, Nancy. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We've covered a lot of amazing ground. Before I wrap it up, do you have any final words you'd like to say?
We owe it to ourselves, you, me, all of us, to come back home to the deep energy placed within us at birth. This is impactful work that is an incredible gift, and one that will grow exponentially and help really promote love, peace, and healing for our planet.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
So, friends, ultimately, self-love is about recognizing that you are inherently worthy simply by being. You don't need to prove yourself or earn love. It is already within you, waiting to be uncovered and embraced. The journey to self-love may not always be easy, but it is undoubtedly worth it, as it leads to a life of greater peace, authenticity, and joy. Thank you for watching today's program. Remember, you can catch the recordings of this and all my other shows on my website at lifemasterytv.com. And friends, I invite you to remember to practice my life mastery mantra every single day. It's an easy thing to remember, and it goes like this. I gratefully forgive the imperfect being I have been in the past. I gratefully accept the magnificent being I am right now. I gratefully welcome the evolved being I am becoming in each new moment. So until we meet again, my name is David McLeod, and I am your Life Mastery Coach, wishing you love, light, and blessings on your continuing journey. See you next time on Life Mastery TV. Bye-bye.
Thank you.